If you've ever struggled with self-doubt about your art, then you're in the right place because I'm going to share what you can do to start building your creative confidence now. Hey, I'm Lisa Sonora, founder of Visual Journal Studio, and I teach visual journaling as a creative outlet that supports your well-being and helps you make meaningful art. So today we're talking about one of my favorite subjects, which is self-doubt, because it's something that all of us artists deal with at some point and from time to time. In this video, I want to share with you what to do when you want to create, but the negative critical voices just keep stopping you and getting in your way. What do I mean by negative critical voices? Well, they're those thoughts in our head that tell us things like, why bother? Maybe you're not a real artist. What's the point? Sort of those self-defeating types of thoughts that can really derail us from even trying to make art in the first place. So what to do about this? The first thing I recommend you do is keep a visual journal as a creative practice. You probably already have a blank sketchbook that you're using for your art. You can turn your blank artist sketchbook into a visual journal. One of the many features of visual journaling that I really love is that it actually happens in a book. And that's why a blank artist sketchbook is really ideal for this. Once you've got your blank artist sketchbook that you're going to be using as your visual journal, the next thing is, and this is so important, keep your visual journal private. You want to keep it private just the way you would a written diary or written journal. And when you're working in a sketchbook, it makes it so much easier to keep your creative practice private because you can tuck your visual journal away on a bookshelf after you're done working in it. When you keep your visual journal private, you're freer to make mistakes, take risks, and make your marks. All of these are huge confidence boosters. So the nature of art and working with art supplies is that it's visual and other people want to see what we're working on. And there can be this pressure to show our work, especially if you're living with other people. They just naturally want to know what you're doing. So the next step is, now that you're keeping a visual journal and you're keeping your visual journal private, is to give yourself permission to not have to show your visual journal to anyone else. Now, if the people in your life are being nosy, I'm sure they're well-meaning, but they want to know what you're doing, you can simply tell them that you're trying this experiment of keeping your sketchbook private and that you're treating it as a personal journal. Keeping a private visual journal gives you something that is so crucial to developing yourself as an artist, which is it gives you a safe container to explore. And putting this simple boundary in place around your creativity makes the conditions for confidence possible. By the way, in this video, I'm flipping through and showing you examples of my own private visual journals, but only the parts that I'm comfortable sharing. And this is actually one of the challenges I've always had teaching visual journaling, is showing examples of the work, because it's a visual medium and it helps people understand what in the heck visual journaling is. So I have to find a way to show things, but in a really respectful way. That is a paradox and one of my own creative challenges as a teacher of this method. So I hope what you're taking away so far is that this element of privacy is something that is going to help diminish self-doubt while you're building your confidence. You can learn creative self-expression. Yes, you can. That's because your visual journal is a private, judgment-free place where you can practice expressing yourself without fear of what anyone else will think or say. You might have seen those old-fashioned diaries that close with a lock and key. Well, visual journaling requires the same respect for privacy, secrecy, if you will. You don't have to show your visual journal to anyone. And here is where it gets really interesting. We're just scratching the surface here. But once we have eliminated the peanut gallery, what begins to happen is you can start noticing what you're saying about your creative process. You get to hear the good, bad, and ugly, the voices of self-doubt, but as you go on and experiment with this, you'll also start to hear your own inner wisdom speaking. You'll begin to notice creative impulses. When we let go of fearing what other people are going to say about our art, then we can start caring what we think and feel and are saying about our art. And it's really important to distinguish that all art flows, all of the original things that you dream of making, that's going to flow out of having a sturdy creative practice, like the one I'm suggesting you start in your visual journal. And when we let go of what we fear others are going to be saying about our art, we can start hearing our own voices of judgment and self-doubt about our art. And actually, that's a really good thing, because if we leave that unconscious, then we're just going to feel off or strange or defeated or bad about ourselves, and we won't really understand why. So your visual journal is a perfect place to start documenting what those inner critical voices are saying. You can even illustrate them, make it a character with speech bubbles. It's a little bit counterintuitive to say, put those so-called negative things inside your visual journal. But actually, that's what a visual journal is for. It's to tell the truth about your own experience in the moment. And when we start documenting and start allowing ourselves to be exactly where we are and tell the truth, we can get those inner critical voices out of our heads, out of our hearts, and onto the blank page. And it can't do us or anyone else any harm when we just put it out there. If you want to make meaningful art and not be derailed by self-doubt, then I'd love to send you my free illustrated visual journaling guidebook. Check out the description to get yours. Here is the creative challenge I promised. Your creative challenge, should you choose to accept it, is to experiment here. Try keeping a visual journal that you keep private and that you are free to not show to anyone. Will you try this? Let me know in the comments. And you can also leave questions for me there as well. Thanks so much for watching today's video on how to overcome self-doubt as an artist. I hope it's helpful. And if you'd like to take a look inside my daily visual journal, check out this video next, where I will show you how to keep a visual journal inside a regular, plain daily agenda. Am I even recording? Yes, I am. Okay.